Hey guys, Th3 here, welcome back to more Wargame Ranked. In this match, a lot of things that can go wrong will go wrong. This is kind of Murphy's Law, although it could be Stealth's Law of Wine, I'm not sure. I had a couple of glasses before I played the match, and because of that, the gameplay that you're about to see is not the best, but it is entertaining. The plan here is to try and get to the buildings between Elena and Dimitri. That's where my aerial drop is going with this Finnish-Polish motorized deck. So I'm sending forward a Sokol Mi-8P, an Mi-8 with Erko inside, and a Salamander to scout out everything. In order to suppress/eliminate any NTR I find, I send in the rocket pod plane. And I also have the units already been, or I'm trying to give the units orders. In the meanwhile, the rest of the forces are going to slowly but steadily go to centering Gregory, and the rest of the motorized column is going to head towards the objective that I'm trying to take on the left. That's the plan, that's the objective, that's where I want to end up. At this point, I run into something that is quite surprising. I run into a double Royvalk. So at least he's using South Africa, but as it turns out, he's using South Africa motorized. And here is a huge mistake, because at the same time as I was dropping off the Mi-8 infantry, so the Erko, I was also dropping off the Mi-17 infantry. And that meant that both the infantry got hit at the same time as the helos were way too close together and they both died. I see that the Royvalks are heading towards the highway, immediately drop off the Ikari that I have there. The XA-185 KTs are trying to do damage, they kill one of the Royvalks. And the other Royvalk will have to get dealt with some other way by the Hawk. Now, at this stage, the area in the middle that was supposedly going to be taken by the Erko and the rest, or the Erko and the Fagot ATGM, until that time when reinforcements would show up, is getting completely wasted, because I have nothing there. Yes, I have some Spada Koniartsi, but that's about it. And South Africa, known for its speed and mobility, very, very swiftly gets in there. As quickly as he can. Because that's what they do. They're great at dashing forward and capturing terrain early. At the same time, over here, I have a bit of an issue, because I have an encounter between my XA-185 KTs, containing the Ikari and SASF Special Forces. Now, the Spada over there have been detected, a Roy-Kat 76 is engaging, the Royvalks are dead. I pull back the Scots, and I basically set up a defensive line here, because as it stands, I don't really have the forces to deal with this. I might be able to suppress them a little bit, but those Eistervarks that you can see there, those cheap NTR units, are definitely dangerous. Now here, another mistake. I know that there is a Casper K car. So, there's probably infantry there at some point, right? That's be a logical assumption. So, the T-55 recon tank kills the Casper K car. It kills the transport. And since I was thinking, okay, the SASF has been dropped off, the Casper K car moves on, and that probably means that it's that combination that I encountered there. So I sent the T-55 forward. Well, that was not a great move. The T-55 currently is still safe, but here we go, moving it forward into the position there, between center and the other sector, to try and get a bit more supporting fire down the line. What I do not recognize is the threat that additional infantry can pose. And the additional infantry is in fact there. There's another SASF squad. Now this was another just clusterfuck waiting to happen. There we go, there's more SASF and I lose the recon tank. Lovely, lovely play. The Erko squad should have moved up further along the road, further along center towards his spawn. Because there it could ambush anything and everything that would be coming up the road. But I keep it there, which is a terrible spot. So again, yeah, the Erko should have been further up ahead, ambushing stuff. Now they're going to potentially be on the receiving end of the infantry inside the Casper K cars and the autocannons. So, terrible move. The infantry there, I would love to move them forward, the light infantry, over to the building there, but the issue is there's a bit of fire support sitting there. Fire support that I currently cannot even quite see. I'm still desperately trying to get the buildings between Elena and Dmitri. I really want these. The Charioteer, however, is not necessarily a bad unit to deal with a couple of entrenched infantry units, but it is when they are the HEGM carrying persuasion of infantry that are backed up by a Roycat 76. So the Charioteers are not having a great day, and the light infantry at the same time crossing the road, desperately trying to get into the building, but they do lose a lot of guys there. So that too, not a great move. Dropping off an Airco squad here in Greg just to make sure that I don't have anything there. Another thing that at this point I should be doing, that I'm not doing, is buying any kind of base defense. The sector from where I'm reinforcing this side, Elena, Dmitri, Fedor, is fine. So Fedor I can definitely hold. When it comes to my base, all the way down south, I barely see it. Because I'm so focused on this sector here. Trying to organize my defense, preparing for an offense onto the buildings there, and just getting an overall eye on every force that I have. I'm definitely trying to train myself to zoom out more, just to get a better overview of the situation. But because Highway to Seoul is such a long map, it is still a little bit more difficult to do that and still see your own main spawn. So the base defense is just absent. I don't have any, which is going to be significant later. Over here I have the excellent combo of the spike missile and the Airco to spot for them. So the units that are over there, a reconnaissance unit in the form of I think it was an A-Lund, gets taken out, and the spike immediately proceeds to deal with the cheap anti-air, the Eistervark. Okay, that takes care of that. Unfortunately, I don't really have an opportunity to move in, because there are a couple of alphas coming in. It's nothing that the Airco can really deal with, but I'm assuming that he has already taken up position in the building. Now over there you can see the Buffaloes doing some work. The Charioteers are trying to get to a better position down the road. And something else you could see there was that the guys were getting resupplied. There we go. There's the infantry. The Buffaloes are moving to drop off infantry to the building that I should have been going to. Another mistake. Nevertheless, one of the Unita gets, I think, dropped off just in the nick of time. And I'm not sure what happened to the other one. But there's at least one of them. And that's thanks to this cheap BRDM2 Milyutka that I'm using for a cheap HEGM unit. I'm trying to bring more HEGM and more spotting into Elena to slowly but steadily cut off the flow to the units that are inside the building there, where the attack marker is. Now, there's the Unita. I just don't really have anybody to shoot at them. I don't have a good shooter here. I do have the Milyutka. I do have an Mi-17 to back it up, but not that much. Now he drops off 20 SASF. That's a bit much. Fortunately, I already had more forces going there, but not really sufficient. At this point, Buccaneer circling overhead. I'm not exactly sure what he's hoping to kill, but I think he ended up killing the BRDM, the Milyutka. So it's an expensive unit to use, especially considering that it's a higher veterancy one, so it doesn't have that many of them. It's an expensive unit to use to kill a 20-point transport, but hey, if he wants to do that, fine. Let him. In the meanwhile, a couple of mortars have arrived, and they are trying to work over, well, basically anything they can spot. And at the same time, the spike is trying to kill stuff there, but by doing so gives its position away and attracts full attention of the Unita. So I'm trying to pull the spike back, keeping it alive, but the Unitas are not having any of it. Back to the right, Airco squad against the SASF, and the SASF are not doing that well when it comes to dealing with the Airco, or at least so I thought, but he just split the forces, and it turns out that there are indeed still 2 SASF squads. At this point, it's time to call in another X85 KT just to get some more forces down on the highway. Because I thought, you know what, he might not actually be countering anything on the highway. I haven't seen him use the highway at this point, so that might be exploitable. An Olifant moves into position, and considering that I only really have a Fagot ATGM, which is not likely going to kill anything, It's just more there as a deterrent. I'm not capable of killing it with Fagot, so I call in an HH10. Also calling in some more Rannico to try and get an assault squad ready to get the buildings back. I get a sissy team over there. I should have also had a spike there, but I end up trying to get a Fagot, although I have far fewer points than I need in order to do that. I try to get the Spado forward, but similarly the Spado gets shot at by the same Roykat. It is not that difficult stealth, you're just playing it wrong. At least what I'm doing is trying to play a little wide here. Since I cannot really get into Dimitri easily, and Elena is a bit more accessible, I'm trying to play that side. I want that sector under my control more. Unfortunately, 30 more Buffalo arrive. Buffalo 85, so that's HEGMs. I'm popping the mortars at them. The Buffalo there have been resupplied. There is still a stealthy Roykat 76 there somewhere. So I smoke out one of the buildings. But with 8 Spado against almost 30 Buffaloes there, it's not going to be a good fight. So I end up not taking it. I end up trying to fall back. Now here, more Buffaloes have arrived. They're there to back up the Unita, and I still don't have an answer to that. Okay, fine. Let's wait a little bit, get some points, and buy a RAK 91. High-end, high-explosive weapon. It's capable of potentially wiping out all the infantry inside of that building. Now, I smoke up the line there to prevent an attack from the infantry that's inside the area there. And I get the Rannico in the transports over to the other side. Or at least that was the plan. But then the Buffaloes started pushing there. And I still didn't really have a plan. At least not really anything to deal with them, because I kind of forgot that I had an Mi-17 there. And since the smoke here was clearing, or at least clearing just enough, I lose almost all of the elite infantry that I had there. Almost all the Rannico are just dying. Lovely so far. At least nobody's gaining any points. So that's nice. Nobody's gaining any points, nobody's losing any points. So far, not too bad. HH10 doing work against the Casper K car, which is currently the least of my worries. And the Mi-8 TKT might be able to deal with the Buffaloes there. The other Buffaloes over there, I don't really have an answer to. Again. Because they're capable of delivering HEGMs. Well, not if they're working for me usually, because when I'm operating with them, they generally don't actually hit anything. But in this case, they do. A Cactus SAHV makes its presence known. And as I try to get Yekeri to go forward to keep an eye on them, I spot that the Olifant is still there. And that the Cactus SAHV is not as easy to kill as I would have hoped. Dropping off more infantry, not so much to try and get the HEGM, but to try and get the rocket pods. The KT is almost at his spawn. Surprise, surprise. He's not guarding the highway. That leads to opportunities. In the meanwhile, I call in a MiG-29 and I want to deal with that Buccaneer. I'm not interested in fighting with the Carver, I just want to get this one HEGM plane out of the way. It was an easy kill and the Carver was, I don't know, not interested in a fight. The KT dashes forward and arrives in his spawn. Job done. Objective achieved. Sort of. I capture his fob and I drop off the infantry. In order to prevent any counterattack or scout out the other side. And at the same time tell the KT to go and deal with the other side. Because I think that's where his CV is. So the KT dashes forward. The Yakari go to the other side, and there's your CV. Dead. Main spawn eliminated. Airplanes no longer an option. I push the Yakari a little bit further back, away from his airplane spawn and land spawn. Not because I'm worried about units spawning there, but because there are definitely units going to be coming back. Over in Center and Gregory, there's not been a lot of fighting. It has mostly been just a couple of small skirmishes, which is kind of what I want in a motorized deck. Now I need to get rid of this unit, and I need to get more HEGMs in, and I need another Mi-17, so another Fagot's what we get. I was trying to flank with the Mi-17 to try and support any potential, well, defense, if you want to call it that, of his spawn, since he wasn't doing it. And so I sent forward the Mi-17, but it got taken out by the Alpha. So the MiG-29 chases after it. I really want to get that kill. Because I'm not interested at all in having an Alpha try and threaten either the XA-185 that I have there or the infantry. One missile pops harmlessly over the helicopter and just does nothing. At this point, I'm still not really any further into gaining more progress or more terrain into Elena or Fox. Oh, sorry, Elena or Delta. So we're just kind of stuck here, which sucks. At least the Malyutka might be able to deliver a missile, but then gets shot at by the Olifant and dies. Still, I have temporarily an advantage. Since he's not bringing any aircraft, he's distracted, he's probably going to try and bring his CV back. I might have options. So what I probably do is make another horrible mistake and use the light infantry that were inside of the town and push them into the forest. Which promptly leads me to a situation where I have line infantry, 10-man line infantry, or potentially 12 out of 20, fight against a ton of shock infantry, which goes about as well as you can imagine. I am capable of taking out the Olifant, and at the same time, the MiG still hasn't taken out the XH1. Neither can the Yekiri because they don't have the range. Another missile just narrowly avoids the Alpha. Fine, okay, this is not really going to work out as well as I hoped. Time to send the other XA-185. Because I still had another one that dropped off the Yakari. So I might be able to send that one and go and deal with the other CV. I try and turn the jet around, but the jet is not having any of it. Now you can see that he's distracted because that cactus is not supposed to be detected. And, well, I can pretty much pick it off at my leisure. I'm not really concerned about any kind of offensive there. The jet runs out of fuel, believe it or not. And the Alpha is able to just pick off the infantry with, well, as much difficulty or ease as it wants to, because I have nothing to use with. We're currently 20 minutes into the game, and yet I still have no form of base defense. Nothing whatsoever. What I can do is, well, I thought, mortar the cactus, but the cactus just simply wasn't taking any of it. Okay. Time to get the Rock. The Rock 91, as mentioned, artillery piece. But in the meanwhile, I want to send the XA-185 KT forward and deal with the CV and Boris. If I eliminate that, it stops the flow of units and potentially wins the game. And at the same time, I already have a couple of CVs in position, since he's missing that one. And I kill this one. And that might lead me to greater glory, because I'm going to be at a +3. Cactus, still under fire, and there's the CV. I eliminate one. Okay, excellent. I didn't win the game. Hold on, there's another CV there. Okay. Time to eliminate that CV. Where is the... Oh shit. This one KT killed 3 CVs. Because they just kept pouring in. He must have already spawned them in. He had no idea that I was going to be in Boris. Because as much as I'm not defending my spawns, he isn't defending his spawns. So that worked out fantastically well. At this point, I'm basically defending this as much as I can. He says this is super uncool. Well, if he didn't want me to be able to drive into CVs, then maybe defend them better. So I'm saying I'm just doing motorized things. I still, with the mortars, have been unable to kill the cactus, and this is getting pretty depressing at this stage. I was already bringing in charioteers, but no joy. The buffaloes are pushing forward, and yeah, here we go. He says he's just spawn killing. Well, yeah, but if you don't want me to do that, then you need to be defending it. He has started defending it, in fact, because apparently killing 4 of his, let's say, regular CVs hasn't quite done it. At this point, since my settings are so that I do not engage, or that I do engage supply vehicles, the XA-185 is working over his fob, which has been recaptured and is thus considered hostile. So the two Casper K-cars are going to try and come back and deal with anything else that I might have coming in. Immediately the jets start flying again. And this 185 is going to have to try and fall back. In its retreat, it's almost out of ammo and might not be able to do much. In the meanwhile, I'm getting attacked as well. A Roycat 76 has been apparently sneakily going all the way around the base. And the only thing that saved me here was a lack of rate of fire on the behalf of the Roycat. If it had been able to shoot me once more, I would have lost it. And the CV would have been dead. So immediately, the Mi-8T KT rushes to the defense. And with the rock, I try to fire a Salvo-Arana, hoping to kill the CV. At this point, he's been distracted a lot. And not only that, but he's also been buying a ton of points of CVs. Because so far, I know that I killed 4 of them. So that's 400 points down the drain. And that's 400 points that he has not been investing in combat units. Now, whereas I should have been pushing, not here, but between Elena and Dimitri, I make a mistake and I push here. Fortunately, the Buffaloes were not able to take out the vehicle, because that was Raniko-Jekeri again. Oh, and surprise, surprise, the KT that did the attack on Anna survived. I really wasn't expecting it to survive, but it did make it out. And, well, we're going to raise statues of that thing, because it was able to dash into the base, and not only that, but survive. He seems to be getting a little bit more aggressive now, as my Raniko-Jekeri are pushing forward, weakened though they are. And they're working over some SASF there, they're just working on killing a Buffalo or 2. There we go, that clears it up nicely. They still, however, have the infantry in there. At this point, the Raniko-Jekeri push forward, and I just... Even though I've cleared out the building over to the left of the Raniko, I'm not even capturing it, not at all. The Sissy team dashes forward, trying to get a better vantage point, and the Roycat 76 is firing back at them. I believe the recon squad does survive eventually, but not without losing a lot of operators there. In the meanwhile, Gregory has been mine. I have a nice +2 going, because he still has not recaptured Boris. And he's already spent 500 points on CVs. And he's apparently, probably, going to be reclaiming Boris. The KT that was able to kill the 3 CVs in Boris has died. But it was a helicopter, so that's another pretty expensive buy. And any unit that he wants to reinforce here is going to have to come from his main spawn. So, I'm still no closer to getting the buildings there, which is really what I want. And so far, it's just been an amateur hour for me. Interestingly, the CV that I was expecting to go to Boris doesn't materialize. It goes to center. That's where it ends up. So, he captures center. Potentially that CV was already on the route, I'm not sure. But the CV in center just tends to move around a little bit, it seems. And I'm still at +1, even if he has captured center. In Elena, I'm still not really taking any of the buildings that I should, nor, and this is really shameful, nor have I bought any kind of base defense. And now I go and finally recognize, oh shit, I don't have base defense. Yeah, no shit, you're only 24 minutes in. Oh, it's just not my proudest moment. My proud moment was when the 185 KT was able to dash across into Boris and just eliminate the CV. That was beautiful. Still, the encounters between Center and Gregory have not finished. Hostilities will continue, and the SASF, of course, are going to win against the Yakari. They don't really stand a chance. Trying to call in a couple of charioteers to deal with any cheap fire, or to deal with any infantry as cheap fire support. Salamandra dashes forward, killing off an Eastervark and working over the Samel 100 cargo that he has there. I have the KT that came back from Anna all the way back there. It is basically camping his Boris spawn now. Wasn't supposed to, because Boris wasn't supposed to be spawning stuff anyway, but hey, I'm here, so I might as well use him. Then, I have light infantry in the buildings again. The Telak, unfortunately, are almost out of ammo. So I call in some new resupplies. And then I decide the better of it and I just call in a couple of new Talaks, because I think that ends up being cheaper than going with supply vehicles. Or at least it was less time intensive and less micro intensive, because it meant I didn't have to babysit a bunch of transports going back and forth to my fob. Over here I should, in Dimitri, have deployed a spike. Because a spike would have dealt with that Roycat a long time ago. But again, I don't have the right combination of units there. I should, but I don't. I have the rock fire at the building. The building where those Buffalo 85s are. And the Buffalo 85, of course, get panicked. They are seriously panicked. But not so panicked, in fact, that they'll be too concerned with dealing with a couple of line infantry. As they themselves are not line infantry, but shock infantry. For some reason I had my Ito 90 go forward there. That was a misclick. And because of that, the sniper team that they basically drove over is able to kill them. Buffalo 85 now heavily under fire from the fire support. But of course the light infantry that I had start dying very quickly. I group up the mortars, providing more ammo to the old mortars as well. And I have the Salamandra go after the Roycat 76 and the sniper team, because I really want them out. Mi-17 dashing forward, trying to provide fire support. At this point he has captured Dimitri as well, which is interesting. He's captured Dimitri, Centrer, Boris, and his main base of Anna. So he's once again been spending quite a bit on CVs. Now, here comes his offensive. There are a couple of Eistervarks coming in. The Charioteer, I decide, is probably not going to be serving me very well if it goes into Gregory, but it might do something useful in Dimitri. So I just decide to retask it to go to Dimitri. Ranikoyekri going forward. The CV manages to dash into cover as the Buffaloes are still under fire from the Mi-17, and finally capture Elena. Nevertheless, he's been buying so many CVs and neutralizing my CVs that he is now at a +1. Despite losing so many CVs, I still managed to completely muck this whole thing up. And because of that, I'm gonna have to work unnecessarily hard to try and get back. But the fun is not done yet. There are more crazy moments happening. Time to call in some more units. I want the Malyutkas to try and get a shot at the Buffaloes. Now the Charioteer has made its little climb up the hill in Dimitri and finds a command infantry hiding in the back. That's nice, because that is one of his 3 command infantry units. The others might very well be in the field. At this point, my CV is desperately under threat, so the Spados start firing at the the Caspier, and I call in the bombing run with the Hawk to deal with the rest of the transports. Because that was getting a little dangerous. The Sissy team keeps moving forward. The Salamandra is unfortunately out of HEGMs, and there's a quad stack of Eistervarks coming in. Sorry, Eistervarks. So it's going to be very dangerous for me to try and hold that. He is now neutralizing Gregory, and my Charioteer has been able to neutralize his CV in Dimitri. So it's a mutual CV hunt that's been basically going on for the last 20 minutes or so. Mi-17, trying to once again make a dash towards Boris. I might be able to kill another CV. And that'd be great, because I would really like to stop the flow of units. It is a South African motorized deck. It is going to just have a ton of units. Over here, a rocket pod plane comes in and swiftly deals with a lot of the Eistervarks if it doesn't outright kill all 4 of them. The other Mi-17 finds out that there is in fact a lot of infantry inside of those woods, so I decide to call in a couple of 185 KTs to deal with it. The Mi-17 does in fact find the CV. But, being a rocket pod helicopter, it needs a bit of distance. So I know exactly where the CV is. But because I'm managing my forces, I don't actually notice. I had eyes on the CV, a critical CV at that, but I just don't notice. It is amateur hour. It's stealth on wine. I mean, it's gonna happen. So, I send, or at least I look for a target, and I'm not quite sure what to fire the rock at yet. it is still something I want to target and try and hunt down another CV. So if I can kill his assumed position in Gregory, that'd be great. Over here, conquest pushing forward without fire support against a fairly defended position of a couple of Bokop. And at the same time, my Sissy have moved forward and are in a decent position. Okay, there, the Eastervarks apparently did not all die to the rocket pod plane and are still there. There is a Beta 90 coming in. That's pretty bad news for my Charioteer, and potentially worse news for my CV. But I fortunately do have Aeroco in the area, and the Aeroco are able to deal with the helicopter. So there goes another expensive unit. At this point we got 9 minutes 20 left, and I'm still ahead by a good margin of points. I called in the 913 there to deal with any helicopter, but it was already dead at that point. And yet another Eastervark is threatening my helicopter there, and the KT dies. conquest have survived the encounter with the buffaloes, no, not with the Bokop in there. And now the rest of the reinforcements have arrived. 185 KTs with Yekeri, but seeing as I am currently distracted with the buffaloes on the left, and I'm resupplying shit from over there, I completely forget about the KTs, and I just dash them headfirst into combat, which, of course, gets a good number of them killed. A triple stack of Roykats is coming in, and that is something that I thankfully spotted just in time, because had I spotted it later, it would have been a big mess. I don't really have a lot to pull forward, though. But I can potentially use a couple of Mi-17s, some of the HH-10s that I already had, the other Mi-17 from there. I need to get rid of that triple stack of Roykats, because they are going to be very dangerous. Now, those two Yakari are all that is left of the KTs that I called in not too long ago. That's all. And because I just completely neglect to take the building, he just walks in a couple of Buffalo 85s. Once again, threatening my left flank. So once again, amateur hour. And look, there's another CV. Boris just got company from another CV that's going, well, somewhere. I'm not exactly sure, but it could be Dmitry, since that's the only sector that he hasn't captured. Because he's been able to kill my CV here with that Roycat hunting pack, I have a +1 against me at the moment. So that's great, but I already have a CV going into Dmitry. Weak as the sector there is, I mean, it's only defended by about 4 and dropping conquest. I don't really have the numbers to deal with these guys. But he doesn't seem to be pushing that much. So as it stands, I might be able to get away with it. And there comes the CV in an utterly predictable location, spotted probably by the 5-man sissy team that I still had there. And I might just be able to deal with, yes, another CV. This area 30 that I had called forward does not find one of the Roykats that I was hoping to kill, but it does find a Beta 87, which I think does take a shot, maybe 2 shots at it. The Buffalo 85 and Elena were pushed forward outside of the building, and because of that were able to get killed off. The CV over there dies to a bombing run. And when it comes to the vehicles, well, I'm going to be in a bit of trouble. Because there's a triple stack of Rattle 20 Milans coming in. A duo at this point. I still don't really have that much to deal with it. Because I pushed the conquest in, but that's about it. At least one thing that went rather well in this match is the ability to spot some of his forces with these sissy teams. And the sissy teams were able to take out, or at least help take out units by early spotting, giving me early information. They might also be able to provide spotting on the CV in center, as well as provide spotting on anything in in Boris as it comes in. Another Casper Caker down the road. I was concerned I was going to just dash to my base. There's one Roycat dead. HH-10 fires, the second Roykat's dead, and the third Roykat's dead. Good, that's the 3 of them. There's still a Beta 87 though. That thing's armed with 2 Kukri missiles, short-range air-to-air. I don't want that. So the Aeroco kill it. The Carver, however, hunts down the Salamandra and kills that. My fighter, I'm not even sure where it was. Yeah, there it is. It is coming in. And it tries to hunt down the Carver. And I think that, in combination with the Erico, was able to kill it. A couple more Parapathfinders pop up. And because of that, the Mi-17 cannot proceed. I still have nothing left in Elena. Dmitri is wide open to attack, and he is, by some miracle, still at a +1. I find the CV with the Erico. I just, at the moment, beyond the Hawk, don't really have anything to kill it with. In the meanwhile, I'm trying to use the Sissy in center to find the CV there. So the Hawk comes in. I lose line of sight on the CV. I do just a general ground drop on the position where the CV is. And I don't kill it. Because the Hawk managed to fluff the drop and drop one bomb in front of the CV and one bomb behind it. So on average, the CV is very much dead, but in effect, it is very much alive. And there is another Beta 87, so once again, my helicopters get threatened. And this time, there's no Erico to save them. But the Hawk could very well do it this time. The CV in center is dead, the CV over there is dead, I'm at a +1 again. And at this point, he really should be out of CVs. I'm counting the one in Anna, I'm counting the one in Boris. I think that's the extent of his CVs. Unless he kills every one of mine, he has no chance of winning, and I think he recognizes it. He says, well played. Kinda lame, to be honest. Well, if he didn't want my units to kill his CVs, he should have protected them better. Anyway, a lot of shit went wrong that could have gone wrong, but still a really, really fun match. The result screen, as such, you can see that I killed a lot more stuff than I lost, but I think you're not really getting the full picture from the result screen, if that would be all that you looked at. Because I killed, I don't know, 7, 8 CVs. I'm not even sure how many you get, because South Africa gets a bonus, but I think that they get 6 standard CVs and 3 infantry CVs. I think I killed 7 out of 9. So I basically CV deprived him, which was not part of the plan, but it's just how the match ended up. Anyway, tons and tons and tons of mistakes on my part. This is what you get when you put me on wine and you get me to play Wargame. Anyway, hope you guys got a good laugh out of that one. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and I'll see you soon for, let's say, more thought out games. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.